Hi, Connie Kirk.
Hello. Connie Herman now.
I know.
I know. It's crazy.
I know. Well, that's what happens, right? So that's
Yeah.
advantages of being a guy is that we get to keep our names and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, so good to see you again. Oh my goodness.
You too.
You look great.
So
You got a cool little headset on.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of the Zoom stuff, and we have a very open concept in our house, so it helps me to stay focused. So hopefully my kids and dog won't be going crazy during our visit. But
No, well, it's fine. And then again,
nice.
I find with Zoom meetings or whatever, this age of COVID, that people are a lot more forgiving than I would have thought. Like, 'cause I used to like freak out on my kids. Hey, shut up! I'm in a meeting. And now it's like, I got kids.
Yeah.
You have a dog.
Everybody understands. Yeah.
A friend of mine from work, she told me about how, because she lives on an acreage, that she had left, or one of the kids left the door open in a meeting. She looked over, there was, I think it was like a goat in her house. She's like, what is that? Everyone's like, what was that? And so,
Yeah.
I don't think there's
Anything
gonna
goes.
be, I don't think you're gonna have any goats. I know I won't.
No.
But I'm in the basement too. We did a basement just a few years ago, and so we have our spare bedroom. So I'm using our spare bedroom for that. Nice. So, but for a while I was at our kitchen table too, and I really, my anxiety levels are just going way too high. I couldn't handle it too much.
Exactly.
So Connie, usually what I do, I start off, because this is the best thing to do, is like recalling when we met. Now, some people, you have to think about it for a while. But with you, I know exactly the moment we met you. Well, you should be able to know. You're fine, but so you and I know each other from the University of Saskatchewan on-campus residence, Voyageur Place. You lived in Athabasca Hall with all the girls, and I lived in Sask. Right. And so generally what happens is, people can imagine with girls' halls, it's full of guys wandering around drunk more than anything else after a party or a dance or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I enjoy doing that because I'm a very social guy, and I used to like to go walk around and say hi to my friends who are girls. But then I was walking down the hallway one time, and in this corner room, I heard two girls, and these girls were in an argument. I was like,
oh yeah,
that's not good. They shouldn't be fighting, especially if they're roommates. Oh my goodness. So I wandered in, and there's a couple of girls fighting, and then all of a sudden they stopped and they looked at me. Do you remember this at all?
Oh, I do, yes. Oh yeah, and you helped us to
I did
hug it out.
I was like, you guys should not be fighting like this. You guys, it's a long year. You guys are just going to do that. And then I think, well, no, I'm not sure exactly where I slept, but I slept on the floor somewhere in your room. Did I not, or what?
I think you might have, yeah.
I think I just passed out.
Oh, the good old res days.
I think is this right? You and Jody were like, do you know this guy? She's like, I don't know this guy. You know this guy? And
I think, we just assumed that I assumed that she knew you, and she assumed that I knew you.
Never met you in my life, but we've been friends ever since.
Oh,
which is really funny as hell. And when I used to do my little rounds, I used to always make sure that if you guys are around, I'd definitely come by and say hello to you guys if your door is open. So.
Oh yeah, you're always such a wonderful guy to hang out with, and so friendly, and just like, and so it's really cool to see how you have evolved, and is still very community minded and very I don't know if you ever knew this, but I eventually became, like, after I went out and I was working for a while in crisis work, and then I kind of had enough of that, so I needed a change, and I went back and I was a residence life coordinator. So I lived in res as an adult, like kind of taking care of people, like a den mom kind of. So I went back.
You went from a crisis coordinator to that?
Yeah, there was some parallels, I think, sometimes.
Was that Sylvia's job? Is that her title?
So I worked with Sylvia,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Oh
then I,
God.
I and then I went over and I worked in like the off-campus
Oh yeah.
residences for a while. So I got to live on campus for a
That
while.
yeah, that would have been a very interesting job. A
Yeah.
life coordinator. I don't know if do we have one when
We
we
didn't
were in it?
have them when
Yeah,
we were in there. No.
probably could have used one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really interesting to go back as a little bit more mature person.
yeah, but
I was kind of nicknamed the fun destroyer, I think, at that point.
well, it's probably a good thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
res has changed significantly since we were there. Like we got away with everything. Incredible
Yeah.
what we did, and I almost felt sorry for kids nowadays. But it's probably better for
Yeah.
them. And as a grown up, I know it's better for them. But at
Hmm.
the time, we just whatever goes,
Exactly.
fake IDs and the rest of it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we had fun. But not, not everybody would have had fun too. I know that it would have
Hmm.
been kind of a lonely period, or if people are introverted, or I don't know. There's lots of people that would have had issues that I was completely oblivious to, right? So
Hmm.
that you probably would have saw more. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So, like, what did you study in school, Connie? Exactly.
So when I was in school, initially it was sociology, and then I went into social work. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my degree right now.
Your
And now I'm
background's there.
back in school doing my master in education in educational leadership right now.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
decided to go back.
well, you're always such a social person too, so that works out really well for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And you started doing different types of social work after university. You stayed in Saskatoon, I take it, the whole
Hmm.
time there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, I know you're one of the people that stayed there, and it's always nice to know the
Mhm.
people that stayed here because I was gone, and then it came back. And
okay.
it's nice to,
Did you go to Alberta
like everybody
with
else,
everybody?
all my engineering friends and geology friends, we all went
Yeah.
to Alberta. Well, most of us
Mhm.
did, not everybody did, but it was nice to kind of come back. Well, I was looking for work. I wasn't really happy with my work, and so I wanted to change. And then so, well, if we can change, we can kind of live anywhere we want to live. Where do we want to live? And my wife's from Saskatoon, and we were always coming back here, going to the lake, her mom's cabin,
Mhm.
and we're like,
What
well, why
lake
don't
do you go to?
Iroquois?
Okay.
Yeah, and as you know, Saskatoon, if you have an opportunity to go to the lake, it's a good opportunity. I think you go to the lake too, do you not?
Yeah, we're heading up there right after this, actually.
Oh,
We're going to Candle.
okay. Just got the week off, hey? So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what kind of that's one of the main impetuses to come back here, and yeah, that's what we do every weekend. We go up there in summer times, anyways, and then we try to spend a few weeks as well in a row there. So I'm sure
Great.
you're the same way. So it's nice.
Mhm.
It was a smart investment on our part to come back. Um, why I one of the things I found interesting about you, because again, I always snoop on Facebook pages because that's what I do. I'm a social person. If I'm not snooping in the dorm, on Facebook pages. And what I'm interested in what my friends are doing. And then I started
Mhm.
noticing just a few years ago how you were sharing photos and from a group. Was it Parenting Potential? I think you were sharing groups from
Mhm.
them. Were you involved with that group at
So
all?
I started that. So I am also like a parent coach. So
Yeah.
I work at the Saskatchewan Prevention Institute as a program coordinator for Nobody's Perfect, which is
Okay.
a public health agency of Canada program, and I coordinate it for Saskatchewan. But
Okay.
I support people who run parenting programs, and I do training for them, but I
Ah,
was kind of missing the one-on-one direct contact with parents.
yeah.
So I do that on the side, a little bit of parent coaching and just bringing resources and information to parents.
Okay. So what got your interest into sort of the parenting realm? Like, did you become a parent first, or is that or something work that you
No, actually, when I was in when I was doing crisis work, I was working with survivors of abuse, and it just kind of started to take its toll on me
hmm
emotionally.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about how can I still do some of this type of work, but on a more preventative scale? And so that was when I moved into the role of community developer at the Saskatchewan Prevention Institute, and
Oh,
was
okay.
working a lot with communities on how to support parents better and families. And then when I became pregnant, my boss thought that I might like this nobody's perfect role. And I thought it would be a wonderful position since I have no idea what I'm doing. So maybe I can learn on the job.
Yeah.
While I'm becoming a parent as well. So I really have been fortunate in my life to be able to, especially now, have everything kind of interconnecting between my family life and my school and my work. There's so many overlaps that I can use and draw from one area to the other. So that's and I just find, sorry.
No, I want you to talk.
I find that like really in those first few years, so I work with the early parents with children in the early years. And in those first few years, if you can get that foundation down, it will help people throughout their whole lives. Like there's so much growth and development that happens in those first couple years or first 5 years. And parents really have no education or manual or like there's nothing right really other than like maybe what everybody is telling you, and everybody's telling you different things. And so it's such a confusing time. I remember when I was pregnant, there were all these classes on like how to give birth and how to breastfeed and all this stuff, but there was nothing on like what about afterwards, right? And so I was like lost. but so that's my kind of mission, is to help support parents and empower them.
I think that's, I just flashbacks to my own kid being born, you know. We did all those classes, right, with Amber did all the, you know, the Lamaze, and I don't know what the hell she did. I was in on a few of them. But we had doulas with both of ours, and that helped a lot with the birthing coaches, and that they were a really nice resource. But then so we were in the hospital, and then we had it was overnight. Then we stayed another night because he had a little bit of breathing issues, and so he was like turning blue. We're like, but they put him in the NCIU, and then he was fine. But so that was first day one, and then they said, all right, you can go home. We're like,
now what?
So we could just take them like that.
You're letting us do that. I'm like, it's harder to like get your license to drive a car, right?
And she says, like, I've never seen you drive so slow in my entire life. Freaking out, hey. And then we get home, and then also the kid, he had gas pains, except we didn't know that. So we're like, I was like, I'm going through the owner's manual right now. I'm reading, like, what do you do? She's like, burp them. Okay, we can burp them. So but you're right, like we have our natural instincts, and we do have natural instincts as parents, right? And that can only take you so far. And the other thing is too, we have natural instincts in other ways too. And you saw that with your crisis counseling, I'm sure, right? Because everybody, if you act on the wrong kind of natural instincts, it can be very, very damaging. You know, if you act on the right instincts, well, then it's nurturing. And so we as people we're collections of personalities, right? We're not fully encapsulated as one thing. And so we have all these competing things within us. They have to be properly aligned. If they're not properly aligned, it can be pretty crazy. So that's a lot of the sociology or psychological work that you have to deal with parenting. So with early childhood, does anything you want to talk about from the early childhood perspective at all? Like, because I'm
well, actually, like what you said was so great, because it has really been where I've been focusing a lot of my area on in the last couple of years is brain awareness and how it impacts and stress, right? And so so really we're learning so much more about the brain in the last couple like decades, and it's really just starting to kind of trickle into our general society. So how much stress we have will impact our capacity to parent, to do anything, to interact with people, right? So really a huge part of my role has been to teach people about stress awareness and self-regulation. And when we understand that, like you said, we have these natural reactions depending on what brain state we're in. When we're in a highly stressed brain state, then we make poor decisions because we don't have access to our logical part of our brain. But when we are calm and connected, then we have access to to more logical parts of our brain, and to the ability to just co-regulate with one another, to support each other. But when we're in those kind of negative states, then it's not good. So it's helping people to catch really early when they're starting to go into those states, and to learn how to calm themselves down, or and then to calm their children down, because we can't calm our children down if we ourselves aren't calm. So it all really does start with self-care and taking care of ourselves, even though as parents, often we think of that as a luxury, like we're supposed to take care of our kids first, but we do have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of them.
Yeah, our philosophy, because we've heard this before, I think it's a reasonable philosophy for us, just the way we parent, is that we actually take care of our own relationship first. Because if our relationship isn't managing itself, that affects the kids' relationship. And so the way we treat each other will get reflected on the kids. But if we kind of abuse that relationship, or we neglect it, then the kid gets two perspectives, and they're not getting a unified approach to life. And it's not to say that we have to treat our kids in terms exactly the same, because me and my wife we are different people, we have different approaches, but generally the kid needs to see a good, strong relationship, and then we got to protect ourselves, and then we go in as a team. What are you good at? What am I good at? And even if we don't even say that, right? So the wife, like mom's very protective. But what are you doing? And I'm the one like pushing around the nest a little bit. Hey, see that puddle over there? But it's about learning their boundaries. And then, but as kids and as grown or as people, they have to be able to make those decisions themselves, right? Like, when do I be cautious? When do I be a little more aggressive? Because you have to be aggressive and cautious at different points in your life, depending on the circumstances. So I like that you mentioned, though, like just the relationships. You can't neglect that, the parenting relationship, as well as the child parent relationship.
And it offers such a great role model for relationships for them, right? Whether it's friends or partners later on, right? That they can see how you communicate with each other, and then they can hopefully role model that themselves too, or take on that themselves, like be like that.
Yeah. So one of the techniques we kind of worked on with our kids, because but then I found out, well, one thing about kids is that they take on your habits and your personalities, and so they're a mirror onto yourself. And I've said this
little
before,
mini Robs.
Yeah, the things I love most about my kids are the way they remind me of me, and the things I hate about my kids are what they remind me of me. Right? It's a sort of reflection on me there too. But like so one, like my older kid, he was actually quite regulated, just sort of naturally. He was really good. He's almost like an angel baby, right? I'm not saying he's an angel, because he ain't, but but the other kid, he always wanted to party all the time. He was like all the time, and he wouldn't. And then as he was a little bit different than the other kid. He would be more active, and he wouldn't self-regulate nearly as much. And so we taught him at an early age, like, this is what you do: you breathe through your nose and out your mouth. And he even said count to 10, like, because he's learning his numbers, so he's gonna count to 10, and he'd usually screw that up. But the whole point about counting to 10 is to think logically.
Yes, it gets them into that part of their brain. Yes, exactly.
And it helped a lot. And still to this day, like, if he's getting kind of upset, what do you do? I breathe. Okay. Can he count to 10? Yes, I can count to 10. So and then all of a sudden calms him down. It's like, wow, that's really cool, because that's a skill. It's not.
Yeah, it's that is the best parenting tip like ever, for like I often say that, like, out of all the things I've learned about parenting or co-regulate or self-regulation, like, that is the best one, to learn how to breathe, for me anyway, and for my kids too. And the younger you can teach them, the better it is, because I'm still working on my husband. Like, but my kids get it. But he's had a lot of practicing the wrong way. So
Yeah, well, it's kind of the advantage of having kids, honestly, is actually a way to look at yourself a little bit more too. Because the way you kind of, because again, you see yourself in their kids, and your kids are often reflections of you, or at least your personalities a little bit, and you project, right? That's a Jungian projection. You sort of see the bad habits of somebody else, but it's actually what bothers you is because it's a bad habit of your own self, even though you may not acknowledge it. It's sort of a shadow aspect of yourself. So by acknowledging that, then I kind of see it in myself. So I found that this past year I had a lot of anxiety. Like I didn't realize I dealt with a lot of anxiety my entire life, and even some depression. I didn't even realize that, but I was talking to a therapist. I had a really rough year last year, but it was really revealing though. Like, so I got a couple speeding tickets over the past year, and I used to never get speeding tickets. And then I got a speeding ticket not too long ago, and it kind of dawned on me, no, I'm getting speeding tickets is because I'm letting my anxiety roll over me. I don't want to be around anybody in my car. I just want to get away. I'm not trying to go fast. I just don't want any, I want to be near any cars. So I want to speed around and kind of like, okay, I'm good to go. And then I realized that's my anxiety doing this to me. That's what, or the anxious part of myself is making these actions. And so I got the ticket from the cop, and I was like, oh, thanks. Because I was happy at that moment.
You learned something.
That's exactly what's going on. And I was like, holy shit. And with the kids, you see that too. Like that's what's going on with the kids. By recognizing that in the children, I see that in myself. It's like, holy cow. That's why they always say you learn more from your kids oftentimes than they do from you.
In our parenting, like in the parenting program, in the Nobody's Perfect parenting program, we teach an approach to problems, which is the experiential learning cycle. So it's like where you're taking your experience and you're noticing everything you can from it.
Yeah.
And then you're drawing those aha moments, and then you're applying it. So that's exactly what you did there. What, you're at your speeding ticket, you're like, what is this about? And you had that aha moment, and you can take it and you can learn from it, right? And everybody's so different. And that's why I love this program, is because it doesn't teach you the 4 things that you're supposed to do to be a good parent, right? It teaches you about that process, about you, like, because using your experiences and learning from them, and then applying what you learn.
What are those 4 things that you should understand?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have you
trying to figure that out.
So the Nobody's Perfect program, can you tell me a little bit more about that program itself and how?
So it's been around since the 1980s, and it was developed by Health Canada. And then they shared it with all the provinces. And so each province and territory has a provincial or territorial coordinator, and we do the trainings and kind of manage the program and provide ongoing support and resource development. But the neat thing about it is that it really is about teaching people how to facilitate learning in themselves and others. So it's all about, so we still incorporate lots of child development aspects into it, but it's the process. So even though lots of information has changed since the 1980s about best practices, we adapt that information, but the processes are the same. So it is that same process that I just said to you about what do you notice is happening? Let's dig deeper. Why this? Why now? So most parents who come to a parenting program, they're like, I want my kid to not have temper tantrums or to sleep or whatever, right? They want to fix their kids usually. And then through this process, they start to realize what's going on more so for the kids, and that they probably are a part of whatever is going on for their kids too, and they're also part of the solution. And so it's about teaching parents how to be experts on their kids, like just really asking, being curious and asking that why is this happening, right? Every reaction that we have is because of something that's going on inside us. So helping to figure out what that is, instead of saying you have to be like this, because often parents are like dictating to their kids, and they use punishment or rewards to try to make their behavior go one way or another. And it might work for a short time, but over the long term, it doesn't really work. And we want kids to make those decisions because they have less stress, or because they're choosing, they have that intrinsic desire to be a certain way. So that's kind of in a nutshell what it's about.
What ages of kids who would approach you for this program, or what's a target?
0 to 5.
0 to 5.
Yeah.
And they say that's kind of the key developmental stage too, right? Like in terms of climate or socialization for children has to be done like fairly early.
Yeah, like almost like 90% of our brain develops by the time we're 5 years old. Not to say that it can't change like over time,
Yeah.
but those patterns of thinking become really ingrained at a young age. So it's so much easier to learn a new language, right? Or to have certain habits develop at a young age than it is later on in life. So that's kind of why so much focus in parenting programs is around those age. But now that I have a 12-year-old, I'm also kind of like thinking about those ages too, lots. But
Yeah, well, it becomes more complex at that time too. And they're grown up to be little adults at that point. 12 years old is, geez, that what a confusing age that is from the next few years, right?
oh yeah.
And again, like you get the hormones going, and it
Yeah.
changes your patterns. And I'm not sure if different areas of the brain actually turn on or off. Maybe they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, when you do that, again, you have different personalities in your head. You also, you're developing some more personalities that are,
Yes. But at least if you have that foundation, like of healthy kind of connections and attachments,
yeah,
then you can feel more comfortable talking and they'll feel more comfortable talking with you about those changes too. So
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah, yeah. Because my kid is older one is 10, just turned 10. The other one is 8. He'll be 9 later this year. So it's they're still at a pretty fun age, and they're
Mhm.
still kids, which is kind of good. They're not stinky teenagers. Oh, they're kind of stinky, right? Because when bath
Yeah.
nearly enough, right? When's the last bath? Oh, okay, you're
Exactly.
bathing it like every second night, minimum. That's what you're doing here,
Yeah.
guys. Okay, just let's get into the habit of doing that. Clean yourselves.
Yeah, we're
And
working on that
I
too.
know I do the laundry. It's like, okay, how many pair of underwear do you have here? It's not enough. So
Uh-huh.
goofballs like that though too. But yeah, I know parenting is such a joy for me, and I always wanted to be a dad, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it, or I don't think I would have known how much I would enjoy it. As frustrating as they can be at times, but they are, yeah. Again, learning, I love them, and they just fascinate me. But again, they teach me a lot about myself as well too, and the world around you. And I don't know
Mhm.
why people don't want to
They
have kids.
do.
It blows my mind.
Yeah,
Can't have
pretty
kids, I
amazing.
get that, but like, kids are amazing.
I know.
So okay, so that's so did nobody nobody's perfect. Do you think there's enough people taking that course, or that program, or do you think there's
Well, I
they're trying
think
to
so. One
expand
of
it more?
the side effects or positive outcomes of COVID has for us has been that we've had to adapt everything to online, and
Yeah.
we've learned so many things from that, and we've increased our capacity. So right when COVID hit, like even before that, I had kind of been bugging facilitators to consider doing online parenting programs because
Hmm.
it's getting harder and harder for parents to go out to a program to find childcare
Yeah.
and all the time that comes with that. So but everybody kind of felt like, no, this is our way of doing things. We've always done it in person. You can't connect online, all those things, right? So when COVID hit, I ran a parenting program just to test it out to see if we
Oh,
could do it. And that
okay.
was kind of a pilot test. So then I could go to the facilitators and say, luckily we had good outcomes. And I said, we can do this and let's start um, training facilitators how to run parenting programs online. So, in the past year, we've
Wow.
really pushed facilitators and trained them to run online parenting programs. And we've switched our facilitator trainings to be online. And the way we do our training is we use parallel practices. So everything we do with facilitators, they can then take and adapt and use with parents. And then parents can take the same activities and use them with kids. So everyone's learning through experience and the hands-on experience. And so we didn't think it could happen, or a lot of people didn't think it could happen online, but it did. And we've had such great turnout. So we had people all from all across Canada joining and
Oh,
becoming
wow.
facilitators, and now they're taking it to their communities. And The World Health Organization found out about what we were doing, so they did a case study of us along with other parts of the world and what they were doing. So that's coming out. The report just came out, and there's a webinar coming out.
I saw that there was a report there. I just read the abstract of that one, but that was you guys specifically, wasn't just like.
Well, yeah. So it was myself and the Manitoba coordinator really took it and pushed it across Canada, and we've been training people right from across. Even like we had somebody join us from France, and we did. It's been adapted to Chile. It's their national program now. So we did some training with them. So now that we're online, we can have these conversations with people in Chile and France and do training. So it's neat. I think there's so much capacity for it now that we can do hybrids and lots of different things. So
and you want to, you're not abandoning the in-person model. You can't really do it right now, but I like the idea of hybrid models. Because honestly, how often do you have to be in somebody's home to talk to them about this kind of thing? Maybe you want to do an in-person sort of observation, and nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's probably very helpful, but you can't be there everywhere at once. And then again, for parents, like, so you have maybe a 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, but it's not that. It's like, I gotta get the kid lunch, then I gotta pack them up, gotta throw them in the car, gotta drive over there, gotta come back, go to the store. It's a 3 or 4 hour movement. It's not just like for you, it maybe just an hour. For them, it might be. Or if you go to their house still, too, they still have to prepare.
Yeah.
And they're cleaning the house.
Exactly. Then you got to clean the house.
Oh my God. We're having cleaners over. Better clean up the house.
I don't know. That's like the one thing I do not want to have to do once COVID is like, I'm like,
I just see this bedroom get all over the place here. We could sleep in this place.
I know. With Zoom, you just have to have one little area clean. It's like, okay, the rest can be a disaster.
Everything's so tiny here.
Exactly.
Well, that is really great. But you started this parenting potential. I don't know, what is it? It's just sort of a brand?
That's just the name I called it, because it's like really about helping support. We all have like potential in us, right? Like we can always do better. And so it's just like supporting people to figure out what it is to help them to do that. So my philosophy is really the same in parenting potential, is like to identify what your parenting challenges are. And then let's look a little deeper. So I always quite often use the metaphor of an iceberg. So we see this little part on the top, but there's really all these other things going on underneath, right? So let's look at what's going on underneath, and then either like reduce the stressors or like increase the positive things that you're doing so that you can reduce the stress. And then what happens is the behavior just kind of goes away usually, right? That, or at least lessens. So that's kind of what I help them do, is just figure that out and let's put it into action.
No, again, I think that's very valuable for having. I could use that kind of help all the time, and I think about this all the time, and that's why I always love your little post you put on there. I liked what you did. Was it last year or the year before? You did a little Father's Day thing on your parenting potential website page too. I love that. I was like, I love being a dad. And,
so I developed a set of cards. So for my job, and it was supposed to be about, it was going to be all dad's cards or quotes. Each card had a different quote about dads. But unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of quotes about dads out there, or there was a lot of negative ones, right? So I had to switch it up a little bit, and it's like some quotes about dads, some quotes about parenting in general, and some about early childhood development. But they're just kind of conversation starters, and we use them in our parenting programs to kind of facilitate discussion. But it's really cool how quotes can just like bring up a lot of emotion in us and get people talking. So
no, that's really cool. But that's an interesting point though too, about, because we usually associate childhood with motherhood, and there is a bond, like when a kid is born, the mother is the entire world, right? And there's symbolism because I love mythology and that kind of stuff too, and that symbolism's there everywhere. But fatherhood, or I'm Catholic, and so like it's it's a whole weekend right now, you know, from Mary, but
Yeah.
it's all about Mary watching her son die. But where's Joseph? Who knows? Like Joseph's
Mm-hmm.
barely mentioned in the Bible, but we know he was there because he raised them and all this kind of stuff too. So he has, and we don't, not say that we need to see more Joseph in the Bible, but it's just kind of the way the world actually views fatherhood as sort of being the supporting, almost a secondary character. And maybe we are, but I'm still there.
Oh yeah, no, and I think that we need to recognize the importance that fathers play, and there's so much research out now about the impact of positive fathering on children long term and in so many different areas. Um, so yeah, that's really one of the areas that I've been focusing on. We're doing a national fatherhood conference coming up
Oh,
in May.
cool.
So watch my posts for that. um,
I will.
yeah, so it will have people from all across Canada talking about various aspects of fathering and diversity in fathering and looking
Well,
at.
but what's so special about fathering, I guess, or what kind of unique aspect or sort of expertise do fathers kind of tend to bring to the fore a
Well,
little
I
bit
think,
differently than mothers, the approach
you
of it?
know, you said a couple things right from the beginning, right? Where you're like, oh, go explore the puddle, right? Like, so that is a tendency. It's
Yeah,
not always the case, but
yeah.
it is a
These are
tendency that,
generalities, and
yeah, yeah, that dads will be like, a mom will hold her child towards her and protect her, right?
ah,
Whereas a dad usually holds the child outward, like, look at the world. Yeah, and this is the world, right? So there's such a great thing to both, right? That have yeah, like I'll throw you in there,
yeah,
but I'll catch you, right? Like so
yeah.
and it is often that a mom will calm a child's nervous system down and a dad will
Ah,
spike it. And so you see that sometimes moms, and I am very guilty of this, will be um, I like my child to be calm, and moms do often like their child to be calm. So my husband is like always trying to scare them and surprise them, and so I have to take a step back and say that's good, right? That's good that they're doing that, and that's a skill that they can use in their life in self-regulating. They
yeah,
can learn how, when they're getting really excited, to handle that. Um,
yeah,
he has to watch when it gets to be too much.
yeah,
Like, that's his thing for as a dad, because he will push it too much and then it'll be in
yeah,
tears, and then it's mom has to deal with it and calm them back down, right?
yeah,
So it's like learning that balance, and as a mom and a dad together, like being on a team and learning how to balance and read their kids' energy,
yeah.
and where that's a good thing and where they need to adjust.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing. Like, because I'm very conscious of my role as a disciplinarian and stuff like that, and I do it out of love. I don't really enjoy it, but it's more of like I'm just trying to, model the proper behavior of acting. When they're going too far, I have to do that. But then on myself, I have to watch myself too. Sometimes I snap on my kids. Then I was like, and so I just like let them separate off, and then I go and this is what I try to do. Anyways, I try to go engage them afterwards. We're both kind of calmed down a bit and say, and then I've apologized to them again. Hey, I went a little bit too far there. I was out of line.
Mhm.
And it's not like the kid, well, it seems like the kid always forgets it, honestly.
Oh yeah.
These kids grow out of it so fast. But again, it's about modeling proper behavior. It's okay to screw up. I
Mhm.
tell these kids that all the time too. It's okay to
Mhm.
mess up,
Mhm.
but you have to acknowledge it. And then you just gotta try to find ways to do better. If you hurt somebody, you have to tell them. You have to
Yeah,
apologize.
that's role modeling that. And
Yeah.
I've trained my kids that in my role, they're like, it's okay, mom, nobody's perfect, which is another reason I
I
love the
know.
name. I'm like,
Such a
okay.
great name.
So
Yeah.
it's a good thing for them, right? That they're gonna mess
Yeah.
up too. And they do all the time. They yell and they get upset. And it's like, okay, let's figure out what happened so that we can learn from that, and
Yeah.
and hopefully it doesn't happen as much in the future, but
yeah. And I also tell them like, don't lie either to me.
mhm,
Like, just be honest with me. I'm on your side. At the end of the day, I'm on your side.
mhm.
You know, whatever bad you do, it's not as bad to me as if you lied to me.
Exactly.
Tell me
Yeah.
the truth. We can figure it out. I can be angry, but things could be.
Yeah.
It's okay that I'm angry too. Because
Mhm.
we're just trying to figure this whole shit out. So
You're just human. Yep.
yeah. Also,
Mhm.
I watch probably movies that are probably inappropriate for my children as well.
So it's confessional.
But I don't
Well,
think
it's
that.
hard. Like it's hard now to find shows, family shows. Like when I grew up, it was like you could find shows all the time because they were made for families,
Well,
right?
they're very explicitly family shows. Like
Hmm.
this is a family show. This is
Hmm.
very easy to. But now it's like, is that a family show? I don't know. And then
Yeah.
there's also like movies from the '80s. I like watching movies from the '80s too that are, you
Oh,
know, there's PG movies and then there's PG movies from the '80s, which are two different
yeah.
things.
It's like, really? Like I thought this, I know. I watch these shows
Yeah,
with my kids. I'm like, oh yeah, I watched them at your age. I'm like, oh,
I know
I can't believe
exactly.
my parents let me watch that.
I know, me too. My parents had no idea. Well, I was a young, I was 5 kids. So by me, they're like, whatever,
Yeah.
just watch what you want to watch,
He'll
right?
figure it out on his own.
So, and but I think the kids kind of enjoy that. But again, that's what I do as a dad. He's like, look, you can watch a show that's a little more dangerous. Yeah, yeah, there's swearing and stuff like that. The world's a tough place,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah, that guy got decapitated. Oh cow, yeah. But again, although in the spoiler alert in the Marvel Endgame, the guy gets decapitated.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
whatever.
I know you think that with Marvel, but it's getting, I know we started watching,
The Falcon and Winter Soldier.
yeah, and I was like, oh, no, I guess you're not watching this, Emma.
That's
Our
that's a
youngest.
that's a grown up.
Yeah.
It's an adult themes and
Yeah.
action and language, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you have how many do you have kids you
So I have
have?
a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Oh, a
So
6-year-old.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Oh
she's
yeah.
not quite ready for some of the stuff, but my
Yeah.
12-year-old is, but yeah, it's
Well,
interesting.
the Harry Potter movies are interesting too, because like
Mm.
I just really loved how she grew the character
Mhm.
and through the language, but then also the themes and stories and how complex it gets. And it really reflected how kids
Yeah.
grow through adolescence, right? Because they grow from children. And the adolescence is it's not really a
Yeah.
stage, it's more of like a transition period from a
Right.
child to an adult. But the term teenager didn't really mean anything until like the 1950s. Because prior to that, you had to, a teenager was like, you're either a kid or you're an adult. So you're in your
Oh,
home. But then
yeah.
in the post war period, there was a lot of peace, a lot of wealth. Um, Kids they weren't forced to go out and work anymore because there's a lot of money coming in the West, right? And so the term teenager kind of came about, and because that's where all these sort of concepts came about. Before that, like teenager was never a thing. You're a
Yeah.
child and then you're an adult. So now our teenage years are
Oh, I
the
didn't know
transition
that
years.
term came then. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
like the term may have been there, but like as a concept,
Right.
it just never
It
was
really
there.
wasn't. Yeah.
It's funny how these concepts kind of come and go too through history.
Yeah.
Like, ugh, this thing the way they always were. No, it's not.
Mhm.
It's not the way they always
Mm.
were. It's an institution or institutional changes that they have like that. So
Mm.
yeah, so teenage years. You're right. It's going to be very interesting for you. Maybe you'll change your focus. Would you change your focus at all, or you become like sort of that early childhood expert? What do you think? How do you
Maybe.
think you use
I
it?
don't know. I really I do love the area that I'm in right now. I think I might just expand it a little bit and do like some one-offs. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, you're becoming a coordinator. It means you're becoming a leader, or you are a
Mhm.
coordinator, but you're becoming a leader in the realm too. And I think that's the important thing. And I think you identified it, right. The missing link was not so much that you do the one-on-one coaching, not that that wasn't important, but also giving other people the tools to be able to
Mhm.
expand that out and capture way more people. It's a lot more efficient than you going one-on-one with people.
Mhm.
Not that again, you may not want to lose that, but
Yeah, but for me it's really it is about not teaching people what to do, about help it's about facilitating the learning for them to figure it out for themselves, really.
the
So I love
facilitators
that.
or the
Yeah, both
okay,
facilitators or parents,
yeah,
really. It is that, and then kids too, right? Like, but in collaboration and connection with one another, I think we can, um, we really, I think our world is missing out on a lot of real communication like this. That's why I love this, how you do this.
I know.
Because you can go on like webinar after webinar with people lecturing to you, right? Or you can read
Yeah.
books and all of that. But it's that process of trying to have the honest conversations of like digging deeper for yourself and how to apply it, right? People are expected to do it in isolation, to like listen and then apply, but it you have to
Yeah.
take that and reflect on it and figure out, and then decide what you want to keep, what you want to lose, how you want to adapt it for yourself. And so I really am excited about those processes of helping people do that.
Yeah, I think it's the way to go. And that's actually one of my criticisms of the educational model that we have here, where kids are like taught to sit still and listen and be told what to do. And kids are absorbing machines. That they are their job, they're better than adults in taking that information in. But it goes all the way up to high school, and just the whole concept of being lectured to all the time. And then we go to university. What do you sit in big large classroom? It's like,
And you
how do you learn?
regurgitate what like it.
Yeah,
One person that I know calls it stuffing the duck, right? It's like just putting it all in and then you take it out the way that your professor wants it, or the teacher. But it's like that's not real learning. In Nobody's Perfect,
yeah,
we say head, heart, and hand learning. And so it's like you get the information, the science, the best practice,
yeah.
but you have to make it fit for you and you have to feel it on a personal level. And
Right.
then you're going to much more likely apply it.
Apply it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a
And then
tangible way.
yeah,
And then from
yeah,
that, you learn some more,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
evolve like that. It has to be repeated, recycle. And
Hmm.
again, knowledge is important. Knowledge is
Hmm.
We need that knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with having lots of knowledge. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, you got to apply it somehow, and it's got to have some sort of meaning or purpose. So
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids gonna pull them out of school like oh stupid like
Well,
COVID last
it
year.
is.
Like they didn't miss a
Yeah.
damn thing. I don't think. So, honestly, I think they could
Oh,
probably use about half the amount of school that they do
did
have.
your kids go back then? Did they were at
Yeah,
school or they are at school right now?
yeah, they're at
Yeah.
school. Yeah, they haven't met well since September, right? So it's
Mhm.
been it was just a mess last year like,
Mhm.
at this time.
Oh
Well, nobody
yeah.
knew what they're doing, and God help the teachers.
Oh yeah.
I feel bad for them. Although some teachers are better than others, and some
Yeah.
teachers is incredible talking to some parents, like just the way some teachers adapted and just took the challenge head on. And other teachers are like, well, here's a PDF,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I can't give a PDF because it's in your personal drive, and they don't have permissions for it, and it's like stuff like that. It's like, what the hell are
Oh
you doing? Like, do
yeah.
not. You well, I don't know. Maybe we have high expectations on teachers. They're people like anybody else.
Yeah.
Some teachers are
Yeah.
amazing. Teachers are awful, just like people in general. But I
Exactly.
think the model, like the issue, like with you, it's kind of good because you're with it's a government program, right? This the
Mhm.
Saskatchewan preventive.
I'm through. It's a non-profit. Like it is a nonprofit
Okay,
that I'm with, and our program is funded through the Ministry of Social Services,
so it's not a okay, but it's not a
and then
social services program. It's a separate.
no, no. So it's all community
Wow.
anybody
Hmm.
can become a Nobody's Perfect facilitator, but
Okay.
um it's mostly ran within community-based organizations.
Right.
So
So, but again, like the model when COVID happened, you were able to
mhm,
adjust
mhm.
to the way you
Yeah,
thought fit, which is it had a kind of
yeah.
mobility and flexibility. I think it was
Mhm.
I don't know. I think again for educational purposes, or we're trying to learn as an organization as well as human beings, like just the idea of having the knowledge, but then is this actually working, and then be able to apply it.
Mhm.
It's really cool that you're able to do that. And sorry, I'm just sort of thinking about organizations because I'm in a company too sometimes, so we're adjusting like everybody else.
Yeah.
But also in teaching with kids though too, just applying how do you teach kids? What's the best way to educate kids as well, and educating ourselves about children? Um,
So my
doing it
kids
from a
went to
super fast.
Montessori for the first 3 4 years of their lives,
And how is
or
that?
well, not of their life, but from they
Yeah.
started age 2 until age 6. And I loved it. And so, yeah, it was very depressing when they moved into the public school system because
Right.
the their first year in grade 1, I just kind of saw it as a write-off because they went from learning, like they were reading and,
Yeah.
and doing math and stuff, and then but it was all self-motivated and like with, and it was just, it was intrinsic, like it just
Yeah.
happened so naturally, and they were all on their own trajectory, but kind
Right.
of coming together, and even the kids support each other and the tools support each other, and they were like, we'd go in and have these observations, and it'd be like, we called it like the beehive, because it'd be this like little
Buzzing.
sound buzz that they were
Yeah.
all thinking and doing things on their own, but and then together, and it was like so cool to watch. And then
Hmm.
you go into kind of the typical system, and the typical system is getting better slowly,
Yeah.
but it's all like, sit in your desk, listen,
Yeah.
and we'll teach to kind of the middle, right, or to the lower of who, but it's like, and then
Yeah.
it's tests too, like in grade 1, my daughter can spell when it's just like doing it normally, but as soon as I call it, as soon as the teacher sits down and says it's a test, that's a stress response, and
Yeah.
so it act like it makes it harder for our logical brain to think when you're told something's a test. So you
Yeah.
actually can't give the same answers that you really do know because you're stressed about it. So the system really does stress people out, which makes it harder to learn.
Yeah. And like, I do emergency response and crisis management within my company too. And so think about
Okay.
tests and that sort of thing too. Like we do tabletop exercises or say full scale exercises. Like we might simulate a transport incident, right? And then we go and bring all the people in. We talk about the issue, but we always stress this is not a test. We're not testing you. We're testing the system. We're not testing you. It's an exercise. We're trying to
Mhm,
see list. We're trying to focus on the system. And I wish that could be maybe that's the approach the educational system should maybe approach it. Like we're not really testing you. It's not
mhm,
a pass judge thing for you. Like there is of that, but we're trying to understand the way we're teaching people. So we have to know how
mhm,
to focus on you. If you don't know the answer, we got to change the way we're doing it.
mhm.
And that's, anyways, that's the way it should be approached. Anyways, maybe it is approached that way, but sure, well, it didn't come across that way when I was a kid. And you're right,
Mhm.
it probably doesn't come across that way. But the Montessori school, yeah, because we were very interested in Montessori school, and there's not nearly enough of those types
Mhm.
of openings for that school. It was on the other side of the city. We live on the west side, so we don't. It was a little bit too far away for us. So we chose French education or French immersion, just
Okay. Yeah.
again, just to challenge the kids a bit more because I always
Yeah.
noticed so stupid. That's a kid. So I just wanted to like challenge the kids, and it has challenged me.
Yeah.
But the Montessori school, it only goes up to a certain grade level. Is that right? Or
Within in Saskatoon, most of the
yeah.
schools, yeah. And then so we had our kids in what was called CASA. Um, and then after that, it's like we either continue paying
Yeah.
or there is, but you could get into the public system, but by the time that came out, my son was already, it was too late for him. So there's a hybrid, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a much more, um, like it really does fit with developmental of the development of children so much better
Yeah.
than stuffing the
It's an
duck.
extension of basically what you're doing with the early child learning and sort of extending that into sort of a
Mhm.
school setting.
And
Um,
really enforces or thinks about building on or enhancing children's capacity in all areas. So there's like a home life component where they're doing
oh,
dishes, they're baking, they're cleaning, they're always doing that kind of stuff too. So
yeah.
that's really nice as a parent, like to have your kids think about like putting back things back where they belong and all of that stuff. So
Yeah. And I wish we would have started doing that a little bit younger with our kids. They're doing it a little bit more now.
mhm,
Get to the point there, but we should have done that a little bit sooner, I think. And I love the idea that Montessori would be encouraging that sort of behavior again, because what are you learning? Why are you in school? it's not just to learn things, it's to be able to live your life. That's to be able to function in life. That's the goal. Learning is an objective, but the goal is actually how to be a functional human being.
Yeah.
The day, right?
And like within Montessori, their main mission is to instill the love of learning,
Mm,
which I don't think that's like anywhere on the public system radar. I don't know.
no.
Maybe it is. For some teachers, I think it is, but it's like it doesn't seem like the processes are really ingrained.
Yeah, and like
in a lot.
I always shit on teachers all the time. But
I
yeah,
know, sorry,
but
teachers.
I know, but I actually want to make it clear. I think
Yeah.
the issue is with the institution that we have there, and the
Mhm.
institutions are very, very slow to learn,
Mhm.
to evolve, and to grow. I think people are capable of it, but once you're trapped in an organization like that, it becomes
Hard.
less nimble.
Yeah.
And the fact we're still basing our education system off of like an 1800s Prussian model,
Mhm.
we got to start thinking about that a little bit differently. So I like looking for these opportunities. I think with technology, again, using Zoom or doing nonprofit programs like you're working for, which I think is, again, I think is amazing. I think there's a lot more of those opportunities to have some sort of flexibility to helping our kids out a little bit, and to helping, well, helping parents, helping out the kids a
Mm.
bit more. Again, the goal might be to help the kids, but the objective is to help the parents develop those processes. So encourage the kids to have those processes
Yeah.
in there. So yeah, sorry, teachers,
Yeah.
it's,
And I do have to
it's
say, like, my
not
kids
you,
have
it's
great teachers
institution.
this
Yeah.
year. Like, the one teacher is teaching them about filling up their bucket. There's a whole story around that. And like, my
Yeah.
daughter has like, really embraced that concept. And my son's teacher, she
Oh,
started incorporating reflective learning into
that's good.
into
Yeah.
their classes, where they can talk about things that are really happening in their life and applying them. So they've been lucky this year, but
Yeah.
yeah, the system is not the best.
Yeah. And I've had great teachers too. And, my kids do it. I know they've had some pretty good teachers. So don't get so defensive, guys.
Yeah,
You're,
yeah,
you get shit on because it's important. That's why. So
yeah.
if it wasn't important, nobody would care. So that's it. So resources. So so I would recommend people follow Parenting Potential on Facebook if you're interested in young childhood development. I think it's a really cool resource, and there's a nice post when it comes up there. Maybe people should follow
Saskatchewan Prevention Institute as well. You can
yeah,
follow them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect parenting on that.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a or I do have a Facebook page, Nobody's Perfect Parenting Saskatchewan. So you can check out that one as well.
Are there any?
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, we do at the Prevention Institute have a resource called My Curious Brain. So it is for
Oh,
kids ages like probably kind of kindergarten to grade 3-ish, but it was written by a coworker of mine
oh,
a few years ago, and he gave it to the Prevention Institute so that, because we can mass produce it and we sell it for cost, so it's $4.
oh,
But there
wow.
is a book or a video of a song related to it on our website for younger kids. And then we have made it into a video book too. So we're hoping to have that up on our webpage, so that even if you don't want to buy the book, you can read or get the video as well for free. So
Yeah.
it does teach about the brain for kids, but it was very intentionally written for adults as well. So it has the different parts of the brain are represented by different animals.
Oh, cool.
So when we talk about, and so they all kind of work, how the different parts of our brain work together.
Yeah.
And so kind of like going back to the beginning, what we were talking about, depending on what state we're in, will depend on our reactions. So helping to have that whole brain state and how we can go about that for both caregivers or parents or teachers or kids as well. So
Wow. That's
I
really
would
cool.
recommend that. If people are interested in looking more, Dr. Stuart Shanker,
Stuart Shanker. Okay.
he has like a few books. He has books for teachers, books for parents, a new book out called Reframe for a Just Society, about how we can incorporate this information um, to to kind of create a better society. Because politicians need to learn this information too, because they're all in monkey brain a lot of the time, right? So how can we can learn this? That's what we call it. Yeah,
right,
that's
the They're throwing feces at each other.
Exactly.
Usually metaphorically.
Yeah. Usually.
Yeah. I know. I'm
Yeah.
So out of politics too. Yeah. Yeah.
And
we all.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I agree. 100%. Go ahead. Well, Shankar, yeah, go ahead.
No, he has a website called Self-Reg. So it's SELF-REG.
Okay.
So short for self-regulation kind of, and lots of great free resources on there about more of this information.
Yeah, I might throw on the links that you mentioned here,
sure.
Just within my Facebook page, and there, if people are interested in more, if they want to find it, the links will be below, as they say. Is there any podcasts or anything you enjoyed listening to? Okay, that was one thing I told you. My wife said, "Oh, ask her about this Mama something podcast." And now,
well, I actually find I don't have much time. I'm hoping this summer I will get more into some of the podcasts. God,
there's so many Mama podcasts. So.
Yeah, there's lots out there that are great. Yeah, I can't think of any off.
Well, what podcasts are good for? Just hearing conversations, kind of like what we're doing right now, just listening to conversations, and then maybe it's one-on-one conversations generally. Those are the ones that I like. There's some that are like they're telling you things, and I'm like, I don't really.
A good friend of mine has one called Celebrating Living, I think it's called. Kimberly Evans, and so I've done a few with her, and same thing. She is mostly highlighting women entrepreneurs, but wide variety of areas. So it's mostly local women from across, and actually I'd say across Canada and even internationally, but just kind of what they've learned from being from in the areas wherever that is that they're working.
Yeah, an entrepreneur could be like,
you
could be an artist as an entrepreneur, and expanding out there, or just taking on a sort of a challenge like that. It doesn't have to be starting a business, and even though that's good too. But yeah, you are definitely an entrepreneur. I get that from you. So that's a good title for you. I need to call you that. I don't know. I have to introduce you. So anyways, this has been great, Connie. It's always good talking to you. And
you too.
I've seen you on your little videos that you do. I watch them.
Thank you for watching them. You're one of the small group, probably.
Whatever. I think it's fascinating, and I'm a fan of what you're doing. I think it's a very important work that you do in there. So I was just so happy to be able to talk to you about that today. So
I'm glad that I could be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Hope I run into you out of town, and or in town someday again soon, and maybe if corporate friends, we could go for a cup of coffee. That'd be nice.
That would be nice. Yeah, or a drink.
Maybe a beer.
Exactly.